It's the intro.
Okay.
It's an upgrade from the jingle.
Oh.
Yeah. We're moving up.
Okay.
I think we may even have more subscribers. We may have more subscriber.
Oh.
Any case. John.
Jancy.
This is Brit and Boer, or as you say in your country.
Brit and Boer.
Okay. Brit and Boer. That Boer is such a Boer. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Again.
I'm very, very pleased to be here.
I'm very pleased that you're pleased to be here. It's always a joy to speak with you. Is it with or to? To you.
Yes.
Well, we're discussing a subject, so it's with.
Okay, yeah.
We'll have to look into that one. Right. Today's subject is, I'm just going to shorten it to the following question. Is Jesus returning in 2028?
Okay. All right.
Or 2026? Or 2027? Or has he returned in 2012? Or 2020, 2011? Or 2008? Or, you know?
Okay.
All right.
So I suppose
eschatology, right?
The non-facetious interpretation of your question is that do we being
Christians,
Bible-believing Christians, anticipate a relatively imminent return of Christ to earth? And by relatively, we're kind of thinking sometime within the next, anywhere between a year and 100 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although some of my friends make it sound like Jesus is coming back tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Based on prophecies that they believe
have
been uttered, or not just prophecies, based on what they perceive as the signs of the time.
Right. Okay. So I think an interesting way to start this conversation would be, firstly, to find out from you, how would you kind of score your eschatological knowledge?
So I would say it's around about minus 152 at this stage. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
It may have grown from minus 160.
Yeah.
It's an 8-point growth.
All right.
Yeah, which is quite remarkable considering I have an IQ of about minus 30 on a good day.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I think that's helpful because obviously I know you know more than you are admitting, but
only depends on who's asking.
Yeah. Okay. So can I begin by asking you? Let's imagine you had a gun to your head, and you had to map out.
We're not condoning gun violence linked to theology, especially.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just imagine,
like some religions,
in order for a person not to pull the trigger with a gun to your head, you are asked to just briefly map out a possible future from today until eternity. But, you know, the latter part of eternity, you can just skip through very quickly. But the interesting thing to me is what, on the basis of all your kind of accumulated presuppositions, what do you see as at least one viable version of our future?
Well, our future. So I can't. Oh, that's such a good question, and I'm going to disappoint you because I'm not even sold. Oh, maybe that's not the right word. I'm not necessarily convinced of a 1,000-year reign.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Based on a book by a British author, British theologian.
I wonder if I can jump in, because some people won't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the millennial reign, yeah.
So let's just imagine, okay, we have as a viewer of this somebody who is a Christian, but they maybe became a Christian recently, not a stupid person, a logical, coherent person, but who has had a busy life. They haven't had much time to look into eschatology, and they just want to get a rough idea of, you know, kind of, what do we call it? A something stop tour, a whistle stop tour. Yeah, of our future.
Is this the Clapham omnibus that we're talking about here?
Yeah, it's okay. So a whistle stop tour.
It's different.
Tour of London on a Clapham omnibus. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So
Which
yeah.
I haven't done yet.
So I'm very, very interested to talk about the 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Super interested in that, actually, because that's an area where I would even depart from people that I've previously been very close to in the past on that question. But going from today forward.
Sorry, when you say close to, you don't mean you rejected those people. You mean theologically, your theological stance was close to those.
Yeah,
to those people.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't mean you rejected. I think that's. I'm saying this jokingly, but it's an important point. We don't break fellowship with people.
No.
On certain issues.
No, all I mean is kind of theologically, eschatologically close to.
Yeah. Okay. So you parted ways with some people.
Oh yeah, and I might still be wrong and end up joining them again. So I'm not at all dogmatic about what I believe eschatologically.
Yeah.
Because I think the Bible is so unclear, deliberately so. Yeah. But anyway, so from today, what could happen today, like tonight, for example, and what do you think could not happen? And over the course of the next few years, what do you think will happen, should happen?
So some people believe in the rapture. Some people would say that there's a time where Jesus will come down, whatever down means.
Okay.
Down from where?
Yeah.
Take us up. Which direction is up?
Okay.
And we'll be flying through space.
Mm-hmm.
How fast, I don't know. Will it be like a reverse terminal velocity? In any case.
Like through a wormhole or something.
Like who? Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So that's one possibility. Another possibility is Christ. Well, these could all be linked. This is all very chaotic to me.
Okay.
Right? The book of Revelation to me is very interesting, to say the least.
Yes.
Right? I believe it. I believe it to be the word of God, as it says it is.
Yes.
Do I understand it? No. But another possibility is Jesus returns and he reigns on earth for 1,000 years and it's peaceful and the devil is bound, I think, for 1,000 years, and then he's loosed after 1,000 years.
Right.
So some people believe we are in that era, the 1,000-year reign.
Okay.
So it's much more, what's the word? I've forgotten the word now. Not theoretical, literal versus. What's the opposite of
metaphorical? Analogical.
Metaphorical. It's our day and age is a metaphorical 1,000-year reign of peace.
Right.
Because we are living in good times. We are technologically advanced.
Yes.
We're still human, so we still sin. We're born in sin.
Yes.
We're born broken. I think our technology helps us to be more sinful. It's more easy I mean, if you're stupid enough to be addicted to porn, it's very easy to get your hands on that. But some people reckon we are in a 1,000 years, 1,000-year rate, 1,000-year peace, the 1,000-year reign of peace. Period.
Okay.
That and I think one of my favorite theologians, Doug Wilson, American theologian. I think that's his stance. I think he's
okay.
I think he's there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have a lot of respect for Doug Wilson.
Yeah.
I really enjoy him. He's a very, very cool guy. And I think he's there.
Okay.
Our official stance at our church is not that.
No.
We would not say we're in the 1,000-year.
Okay, so can I ask you to do this? Could you please make a story for me for what you think our church, well, when I say our church, the church that we're attending here locally, believes is going to happen, just like whistle stop.
Wow.
And then the alternative that you are, it sounds like, tending towards on the basis of your listening to and agreeing with a lot of what Doug Wilson says.
Yeah. You see, that's what I'm saying. I'm very...
Well, I could give it a go.
Please do.
Okay,
because I'm shaky on this.
Okay, so this is not what I believe, but I absolutely am very easily willing to concede I may be completely wrong about all of it. Okay, but what I think the church here is teaching, and what I think probably a majority of Christians, I would say, who don't go to the more traditional churches. So how do we call them? So the kind of modern Baptist church would believe is that, okay, so obviously there are three variations on the theme, but the theme itself is that we haven't yet had the millennium.
No.
The millennium is only going to start once Christ establishes it on earth.
Yep.
Okay? So to quickly go through those three possibilities, possibility number one that some people believe is that even tonight, we could just be here and just dematerialize, be caught up into the sky, but it would be a secret rapture. So Christ doesn't come back visibly, so it would be a kind of an invisible theophany, as it were, where he comes back but is not seen by the whole world.
When you say theophany, you mean it in the traditional sense of the word, where Christ reveals himself as someone else? Is that what you mean, like in the Old Testament?
But that's a big subject, because that's debatable, because how do we know he revealed himself as somebody else, like to Jacob, for example?
Yeah.
Was that a theophany? And when he, a couple of times with Jacob, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then the second time, like when he wrestled with him and dislocated his hip joint or whatever.
Was that a theophany?
I think, a lot of commentators would say it was, but that he didn't have to appear as somebody other than who he was, but it was his pre-incarnate physical form. Yeah. But anyway, that's a huge subject on its own. Yeah.
But I mean, if he comes back tonight undercover, why would he do it undercover?
Well, no, I mean, it's hard I'm trying to be fair to the pre-tribulation rapturists.
Okay.
So, of course, I absolutely don't believe this.
Yeah.
But why he would have to do it undercover is because I think even the pre-tribulation rapturists believe that when Christ comes, they depart a little bit from the creeds, like the Athanasian Creed, the Nicene Creed, the Apostles' Creed, but all those creeds kind of tend to suggest he will come again in glory to judge that. But then we've got to be careful about the judge the quick and the dead, because they want to insert a kind of 1,000-year gap there, which I don't, because I'm quite a traditionalist. But anyway, to try and advocate their position, they would say Christ's coming back the first time since he left roughly 2,000 years ago has to be secret if you're a pre-tribulation rapturist. So it's like a secret coming. Nobody really sees him, but then everyone's just caught up to be with him. And then if Christians are flying airplanes, it's bad news, or driving buses or something like that, because then the human just disappears. Maybe his clothes are left behind or something, and bus crashes, lots of people die. And everyone thinks, maybe it's an alien abduction or some nonsense like that. Okay? So that's scenario number one. After that happens, according to this pre-tribulation rapturist kind of system, then there are 7 years during which a world leader presides over a global administration. And for the first 3.5 years, everyone's a big fan of him. He brings peace. And then halfway through that time, someone opposes him or something angers him. He gets fed up with the Jews. And then, of course, in the meantime, I think they believe the temple will be rebuilt. So if, for example, we're raptured tonight, they've got to get moving with that temple, because only 3.5 years later, pretty much to the day, they believe that this world leader, known as Antichrist, will enter the newly built third temple. Is it the third temple? In Jerusalem, physically where it was before. And just super quickly, I think they think, or we think, it won't be on the Dome of the Rock because the Dome of the Rock is wrongly sited. And very, very obvious evidence for that, which is that if you were a sensible person like the Jebusite, Araunah the Jebusite, and you're wanting to thresh your wheat, you wouldn't choose the most complicated rocky outcrop to thresh it on, with all your little wheat falling into the cracks. You'd find a nice, smooth section of natural stone, and you'd want it to be pretty much on the peak, so that when you toss up the chaff in the wheat, the wind blows away the chaff. Because obviously anyone who spends any time in mountains or moving on ridge lines knows that you get an acceleration of wind. It's a kind of a Newey effect as it passes over the ridge line. So it's perfect for carrying away your chaff. And if you go to the Temple Mount, which I've done, but I haven't been there with more advised watch as I would if I went there again, having had these ideas in the meantime. But anyway, what you'll notice there is that it's all artificially paved from however long ago, with beautiful slabs, except for one tiny little area just to the north of the Dome of the Rock. And there's a tiny little dome. Sorry if you already know this, but just a tiny little dome, like about the size of, from the end of the desk to this wall. And it's got a smooth piece of stone there that's so perfect and flat and is clearly worn away through use. So it would appear that that would be the logical point at which to site a threshing floor. And of course, we know that David purchased that threshing floor off Araunah the Jebusite, and he used that for the location of the Holy of Holies, where the Ark of the Covenant was situated. So it's very likely. And that just so happens to coincide precisely with the direct line from the Mount of Olives through the boarded up, the kind of bricked up gate there on the east of that point. So and we know the temple was sited directly in line with the east gate. Of course, we also know that according to the scriptures, Christ is going to return by landing on the Mount of Olives, not in a secret way, and that's going to split open to the north, to the south, and then he's going to move into Jerusalem through that eastern gate, also known as the Golden Gate. So whether or not...
Do you think he's going to land like in those movies where the superhero kind of just comes down? Do you think it's going to be dramatic like that?
I think...
Or is it going to be like... What do you think?
Well, we know he's going to land in the kind of reverse of the way in which he left.
Well, he left head first.
Yes, so he's going to come foot first.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't make sense to come head first, right?
So my understanding, when the angels speak to the disciples after he leaves, and they say, what are you moping about? The same way he left, he's going to come back. Relax. So what I think it would be like is if you took a video of him leaving and you just played it in reverse. That's pretty much what it's going to look like. Yeah. Except, of course, he's going to have a cloud of his saints with him. Yeah. And he was received into a cloud. So that is quite an interesting kind of reverse symmetry there. Anyway, I don't want to get distracted from this timeline. So let's just imagine we are premillennial, pre-tribulation rapturists. We would think then that we could be raptured tonight, caught up to meet Christ secretly, taken away to heaven for 7 years before he actually comes down visibly in a non-secret way. So then we're there in heaven, just watching what's going on earth, and then Antichrist spends 3.5 years deceiving the world. Everyone thinks he's a big hero, implementing that, that sort of system of kind of initiating it and selling it for 3.5 years, until eventually after 3.5 years, after the rapture, it's then mandatory. It's like the British do. If they want to implement digital ID cards, unless the Prime Minister gets a bit confused, generally the plot is to say, oh, no, it's optional, it's just for your convenience. And then when 80% of people have signed up to it, it suddenly becomes mandatory. So I think there'll be a similar kind of transitional period like that with the new system of paying for things. And I think there may be some kind of weird little pretext for why, kind of global national security, if you can put it that way, would necessitate such a secure system that nobody would be allowed to really interact unless you had this system. And it's going to be some kind of mark on the hand, or in the hand, it says, or in the forehead, unless you're reading a modern version, in which case it says on the hand. The Greek is en. It suggests more in than on. But anyway, as in epsilon mu. I'm not speaking in English. So anyway, so let's just imagine that happens after 3.5 years, where he goes into the temple and essentially says, I've had enough of you people. I've given you peace. I've tried to be the nice guy, and you guys are not going along with it. It's no more Mr. Nice Guy. So that's when he says, basically, the only way this world is going to work is if everybody acknowledges me to be the boss. I've let you follow your Jesus and your Muhammad and your whatever, but no, that's all over. You're now following me. And he sets himself up essentially as God. He's not really saying, I'm God. I created the universe. I don't think. But he puts himself in the place of God. He refuses to tolerate any competing religions because they're constantly in conflict. He's trying to bring peace, but he realizes he can only impose this peace in a draconian way because these people are taking liberties and fighting each other because of all their nonsense about whether they believe in this God or that God or the other. So he puts his foot down and symbolically goes into the temple to declare himself to be the replacement of all of these kind of nostalgic religions that demonstrably don't work, you see? And he's the one who sorted out all the problems in the world. So why do you need all these fake gods when you've got me? So that's what I think happens. And at that point, that's when, now we're going to move into another, sorry. In the first scenario, that's the point at which the bad part of the 7-year tribulation really happens. So now I know there are different degrees of what's bad. And so according to this church locally, I think they believe that the bad things have already started. So like with the start of the United Nations that they think is the white horse, which of course I don't, but and then an increase in the rate of earthquakes and natural disasters. They think that will increase and accelerate to the point at which halfway through the tribulation, things intensify so badly that right after Antichrist declares himself to be in the place of God, essentially, then all of these kind of wrathful acts of God will intensify, and that's when things go kind of really pear-shaped in terms of two disasters that are the most conspicuous events in that last 3.5-year period, which are that, firstly, what is it? It's 1/4 of the world's population is wiped out. And then there's another disaster where 1/3 of the remaining population is wiped out. So obviously you go down to 75%, then you lose the 25 of the original being 1/3. So you're down to 50%. So within a couple of years, you've got like 50% of the world's entire population wiped out. And so if that happened today, like 4.1 billion people wiped out within 2 years. And that could be in nuclear wars, these kinds of things. Okay. And so then there's a time of extreme wrath where now I think they believe that Israel is in the process of being kind of chastised and saved, because all nations will turn their back on Israel. And so why the world hasn't already been destroyed is purely for Israel's sake there. I think that's what they believe. So Israel will think it's like Christmas, or it's Yom Kippur every day, from the rapture right up until 3.5 years. And then the second 3.5 years, they'll realize, oh dear, we've been duped. This is a bad situation for us. We need to go and flee into the Judean hills or wherever we're going to go to escape, problems from both sides. One, that Antichrist himself launches against us because we are the most stubborn people on earth. We're the least willing to comply and cooperate. We want to maintain our beliefs, but at the same time, they come to an acknowledgement of their Messiah. So they will look on him whom they have pierced and mourn as one mourns for an only son. So that conversion period will occur during an intense period of persecution where they've got nothing else to distract them from the awareness of the fact that the whole world's against them and there's only one person who's going to save them, and that's the Messiah. Because they will have thought that Antichrist was the Messiah. They're all waiting for their Ben, whatever they call him, Messiah, and they will think it's him right after we're raptured. And so then at the end of that 7 years, many of them will have been killed, but will be believers, Messianic Jews. And then right at the end, there'll still be lots of Jews. The Russians and the Chinese will have moved in from the east with an army of 200 million. I don't know how we're going to get there because their armies are only like a couple of million right now. But maybe there'll be like a mass conscription of every adult male.
Adult males of 2 years old and up.
So I think they're
going to change the meaning of the word adult male.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing this in the West. I mean, what is a woman?
Well,
Matt Walsh has proved. What's his name? Is it Matt Walsh?
I think
he's the what is a woman guy.
Yeah, he's the what is a woman guy.
Yeah, and so I mean, they're going to say, "Hang on, this is we'll change the meaning of the word adult male to include the 2-year-old."
But the interesting thing is, they're already conscripting in Russia, aren't they? They're bringing in foreign troops from all over the place.
Oh yeah, they love our suckers. I mean, people.
Yeah. And so, if you think about it, and in Britain, they are talking about the possibility of having to conscript former armed forces members, I think between the ages of 20 and 65, not 55. Traditionally, it would be 55, but now 65. So if you can imagine how many people there are in China, it's what, 1.4 billion now? I don't know how many there are in Russia, but let's just say China on its own. Half that are women, so you've got 700 million. Let's get rid of the old people from the equation and the young people. You are actually left with a couple of 100 million men of fighting age, aren't you? So anyway, you will then have an army of 200 million coming across the river Euphrates, which by then will have fully dried up. It's a bit dry now in historical terms. And then they all besiege Israel. And that will probably have been something that will have been building up over time. Like even now, the Chinese have I think they have finished actually their road going all the way from China through the kind of northeastern corridor in Afghanistan. And then from there, it's easy to go to Tehran and then to that Russian base on the Mediterranean. Of course, they have an agreement with Russia. So they now will be able to trade right through to the Mediterranean and the West without having to go the long way around on ships, which is going to massively reduce costs of trading.
Probably going to lead to other bad blood.
Yeah. So without this kind of far-fetched, very hard-to-believe scenario where the Chinese and Russia just have some insane kind of demonic hatred of Israel and just decide to move 200 million people in there, it's very viable that, their Belt and Road Initiative, so the Chinese, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, it's a very famous thing, you can look it up. They've got a Belt and Road Initiative. So they're basically putting roads all over the place. Now, the only kind of reason they would have to put roads in Africa is if they want to have access to African resources, which they clearly do. They're a growing threat economically. to the kind of domestic ownership of each country's own natural resources as it happens. But the idea is that, according to this conspiracy, because we have to have some kind of conspiracy for any of this to make sense. So the most realistic conspiracy is that China right now has a plan for world domination. Okay, China's not remotely interested in scripture, and that's probably why. Do you see what I mean? In God's economy, it's probably why that they are unwitting idiots, useful idiots, as it were. They're simply bent on world domination. You can see America is becoming weak. Of course, some of Trump's policies have reversed that trend of weakness, but he's only allowed a second term. So sadly, unless he can work out a way to change legislation, he's gone in 3 years or so. And after that, nations always kind of oscillate the wrong way. So that country becomes weak. Russia's embroiled in a war. It's basically down to China, and that'll be their opportunity. So they then start coming out into all the world. So they're 200 million. It's not necessarily just who are coming out to fight. They may be coming out to start basically creating their empire, kind of dominating every country they go into.
I want to ask something on that. I have a friend he's a popular South African podcaster.
Oh, yeah.
And I said...
Is he even more popular than us?
He has 100 and something thousand subs.
Okay.
So he's slightly more popular. I don't think his mom is subscribed. Though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think his mom's dead, though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, and to be honest, he's been doing it a little bit longer than us.
Okay.
Seriously. He's okay. He's actually a very nice guy. I met him and I had coffee with him. And I said to him, what about the Chinese threat? It looks like they're trying to take over the world. And he said, Yancy, you absolute moron. And he chucked his cup of coffee into my face. Not really. That didn't happen. But he said, in 1,000 years, the Chinese have not tried to dominate anyone. My first thought was which I love, the Nassim Nicholas Taleb tale of the turkey that for 1,000 days has been fed, and then on day 1,001,
all of a sudden, breaks every trend.
Yeah,
its neck cut.
Yeah, right. So I'm saying you can't, even if for 1,000 years they were peaceful, what it looks like now is that they are trying to dominate. There's a term for the way they do it. I can never remember. It's but they go into a country, they say, no, we build you a nice little stadium, roads, whatever, all of that. How much are you going to cost? No, don't worry about that. Yes. Who pays for things? And then they eventually do come back and say, listen, we did build that nice soccer stadium, and we did build you the African Union building, which was which they used for espionage. So they own these things. Yeah. And if you can't pay for it, then they do. It's like the Pied Piper does come for his payment.
Yeah.
So it looks to me like they are.
Yeah.
In fact, trying to take over the world.
Obviously, you're trying to look for a kind of best fit conspiracy theory. I think this is the best fit. There are no. See, I don't think India has any kind of appetite to do that. It's got even more people than China now, 1.5 billion. So they're the only other country. The only other country in the world that would have the capability to send 200 million people west across the River Euphrates. Of course, they've got to be east of the River Euphrates, so it cuts out all the other countries. So you're not really left with many countries there, are you? You've got Russia, you've got China, you've got India, and all these little countries in Southeast Asia. So you don't really have much choice. And politically, I don't think it's really India's thing. So you're just really left with Russia or China. Russia's got enough people.
Yeah, I think they're too busy making Bollywood movies.
Yeah,
and,
happily,
eating curry.
And too busy to get involved with world domination.
Yeah, they look like a nice bunch of people, those Indians.
Yeah,
Look like
civilized. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Indians.
Yeah. So,
One of my favorite characters is an Indian. He's one of our clients. Yeah. Any case.
All right. So anyway, according to this system that we're talking about, and actually this is not working anymore, but according to this system, we're still on the premillennial, pre-tribulation rapture system. But this part of it is common to the pre-millennium, mid-tribulation, and even the post-tribulation rapturous position as well. The only difference is where the Christians are at this point, whether they were raptured at the beginning of the 7-year period, the middle, or the end. So anyway, then the Chinese, presumably, come across, besiege Israel, and then right at the end of these 7 years, when there have been all these natural disasters and all this conflict, and now Antichrist is kind of struggling to keep people at bay, the Chinese then come. And you see, Antichrist will probably base himself in Jerusalem because it's the center of the world. You know, it's like where Asia and Europe and Africa all meet. And he's got to be there because if he leaves there, there's going to be conflict. You see what I mean? So it's not like he has any great interest in Araunah the Jebusite's little threshing floor. Because of, in his mind, the superstitious Jews attaching so much importance to it, or the kind of wary Arabs getting excited about that little piece of real estate, the only way he can prevent conflict is if he situates himself there. You see what I mean? So I think he'll actually turn the temple into his own kind of governmental HQ. You see what I mean? And you see the logic of why. So,
why would the Muslims be interested? Would they want to open a cell repair shop? Or?
so obviously, the Muslims think that they're stopping the Jews from rebuilding. You know the Temple Institute. You know, in Jerusalem, there's a Temple Institute. They've been working for I don't know how long.
I know about a mental institute.
Okay.
Is it similar?
No, it's quite different actually. They've been working for 20, 30 years. I don't know in collecting funds and materials to build the third temple on Temple Mount. But they still think, or they may not really think, that they want people to think that they think that the original site of Solomon's temple was on the same site that the Dome of the Rock is on now. But literally, you know, a 12-year-old could disprove the logic of that thesis instantly by just having a look at that rock and having a look at the Dome of Spirits, the piece of rock underneath that, and ask the 12-year-old which one looks more like a threshing floor. And if the 12-year-old says, what's a threshing floor? You'll say, well, imagine you've got to rub grain on a piece of rock and you don't want to lose the grain, you want to be able to sweep it up and go and eat it. Which rock would you choose, 12-year-old? And if he looks at that complicated outcrop in the under that golden dome, he's going to say, no, that just wouldn't make sense. I'd do it over there. So the Jews are very clever. So it's hard for me to believe that they genuinely believe that their original temple was sited where that where the Dome of the Rock was. You can't do anything there. There's that great big lump of rock there. You can only really walk around it. So they probably know where it really was, but they're not letting on, because if they play their hand and explain their intentions, then the other people are going to compete for that piece of real estate on other pretexts as well. So anyway, the Temple Institute claims, I think, to be ready imminently to rebuild the third temple. And I think they claim they can do it in quite a short space of time. They've got all the furniture. Of course, they're missing the, as far as we know, they're missing the, what do you call it? Ark of the Covenant. Yeah.
That's, for those who don't know, this is not Noah's Ark. It's a different Ark.
Yeah.
Slightly smaller than Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
quite a lot smaller.
But of course,
and it can't float either.
No, that American claimed he found it. I don't know. Were you aware of that? There's a guy called Ron Wyatt, who was an American archaeologist.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So what he claimed, okay, this aspect of his claim, I think is quite credible, the aspect I'm about to tell you of. If I asked you to take me to the site where Christ was crucified, where would you take me?
Golgotha.
Okay, where's Golgotha?
Outside of Jerusalem.
Oh, okay. So if you go on a trip, if you pay some tour guide to take you, where do you think he'll take you?
Golgotha.
Well, he will take you into a kind of underground area. I think it's by the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And you're basically in a cave. And he'll say, look, there's this indentation in the ground. We're going to put like bulletproof glass in front of it. You can reach in there like a thief and stick your hand in the site and go away for the rest of your life and say you've touched the site where Christ was crucified.
In a cave.
But it's total nonsense, because there's just no way that would be a logical place for the Romans to set an example of publicly crucifying people. You would cite such a place where you have a lot of traffic, because even us British have always said that justice must not only be done, but be seen to be done. More than half the value of justice is the kind of performative aspect of it. If you see people being hung for doing bad things, you're not going to want to do those bad things as well.
I mean, this used to be common practice, right? You hang a perp in town square, and you take your family for an ice cream and hanging.
Picnic. Yeah, literally a picnic,
Yeah, Daddy, we're going to have nice McDonald's and a hanging.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
maybe not McDonald's, whatever.
So
the guy claimed he found the ark.
Yes.
Was it revealed that it was actually a really old box of McDonald's burgers or something?
No. In fact, the claim is quite fascinating. It has an interesting logic to it. Firstly, it depends on his having correctly identified the location of Golgotha. Okay? And I think he got the location right. Because when you look at, for two reasons. One is the kind of logic of the siting. So you've got the main kind of bus terminal over here, then there's a fence, you've got a little piece of ground there, then you've got a big cliff.
This is not the Clapham omnibus.
No, but you would have similar omnibuses, a Jerusalem omnibus.
Jerusalem omnibus.
Yes.
Basai.
Yeah. I think that's the correct technical term.
Yeah.
Yes. So the fact that now it is the main bus station in Jerusalem, directly looking across, since the topography of the city has never changed, then, whereas now, of course, we've got tarred roads, back in the day we'd have had kind of dusty tracks and things, but the movement of people would still pretty much reflect the movement of people today to avoid the main kind of topographical obstacles. So it's very likely that since it would make a logical place now, if that area were allowed to be used, people could pass backwards and forwards, that would be the best place to crucify someone if you wanted to make a thing of it and get as many people.
Get off the bus and there's somebody hanging right there.
Yeah, that's right.
Learn.
Yeah, you're coming to our city.
This is what happens to you if you're a kind person who tries to save a nation. This is what's going to happen to you, man.
Don't take any chances.
Don't take any chances. Be a bad person.
Yeah.
Right? Why would you want to save the world? Look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the sighting is logical, but also when you look at a photograph of it, it literally looks like a skull. I'm surprised you haven't seen it. It's like two big indentations for the eye. About, 20, 30, 40 years, or the bottom of the nose kind of fell off, but it was more perfectly formed there. And it just looks a little bit like an angry face, the skull of an angry face looking out. And it's right outside the boundary of Jerusalem, again, along that thoroughfare, which is exactly where you do it. You wouldn't do it on top of a hill. That just doesn't make any sense. And so...
do you think the nose fell off because of leprosy?
No. I think because of maybe global warming. Yeah. Okay.
Knew it. Sorry.
So anyway, but we are getting a bit distracted. So the interesting thing is that, do you know when Jerusalem was being besieged at the time of Jeremiah?
I was about to ask which one are you talking? Which event are you talking about?
That particular one. He took the if I've understood correctly, he took the Ark of the Covenant and hid it, so it couldn't be stolen by the marauders. And it's often believed he hid it in Jeremiah's cave. Now, where is Jeremiah's cave? According to this character, Jeremiah's cave is situated directly underneath the foot of that cliff, at the bottom of which he believes that Christ was crucified.
The nose which fell off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And moreover, when he was excavating that site, he found a lot of round stones about the size of a baseball. And he found a lot of metatarsal fragments. So what does that tell you? You find big, round, professional grade rocks for throwing.
And you find stoning.
Yeah. And if people are going to stone you, you're going to put your hands up to protect your head and get your fingers crushed. So then
so it wasn't actual baseballs, just saying.
Yeah.
Stones that look like.
And so, if you are a conquering nation like Rome or conquering empire, you find out, where do you people kill people? Oh, we stone them over there. Okay, forget your stoning. We're going to crucify people there. Because the Jews would have had a similar kind of rationale for where to site stoning. Outside the city, so as not to make the city unclean, but where it's going to be visible, not behind the bike sheds. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So there's so much logic for that location. But now underneath it, that same kind of fault, so where you get that cliff coming down, continues down underneath the ground, and the same cavities you see in the face of that rock exist under the ground level, and one of them was Jeremiah's cave, presumably, if this guy's kind of hypothesis is correct. So do you know what he believes happened? You remember when Christ was on the cross and there was an earthquake?
And the
veil in the temple was rent in two. Yeah. That same earthquake that rent that thick veil also rent the rock in Golgotha and formed a crack. And you remember when the centurion wanted to check whether or not Christ died? Because normally they didn't die from suffocation by hanging. They normally had to have their legs broken.
Yeah.
But of course, in Christ's case, not a single bone of his body was ever broken.
Yeah, and that's significant, because if any bone was broken, he would not have been Jesus. He would have been Jesus. He would not have been the Messiah.
Yes, according to the prophecies.
Yeah.
And so this centurion, who's probably pretty good at detecting whether a person was dead, since he did that for a living, of course came with his spear and thrust it into his heart to see whether the blood had separated yet into water and blood. And of course it had, so he knew the guy was definitely dead. The heart had stopped beating a long time. And so what this archaeologist believes happened, now this is pretty far-fetched, okay? But what he claims happened is that the blood that spurted out of Christ's heart fell down the crack, so it's like all accumulating at the foot of the cross, and worked its way down the crack and dropped into Jeremiah's cave underneath. Now, you'll remember that the Ark of the Covenant was obviously like a little wooden box made out of, I think, gopher wood or something. And then on top of that, there was a gold cover known as the mercy seat with little kind of crowns around the edge and a couple of
horns.
Cherubim, was it? Yeah, the horns on the corners, I think. And
you could grab the horns for mercy.
Well, no, you don't grab this one. That's the altar. We're not talking about the altar.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
You grab this one, and you remember what happened to David's friend.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, so this one, the only way you grab this is by holding onto the rods that go through the rings on the corners. But it's got this gold lid on top, which is known as the mercy seat. And the high priest once a year, always had to go into the Holy of Holies. He was the only one authorized to do so, representing Christ. And he would sprinkle the blood of the sacrifice on one side of the mercy seat. I can't remember which it was, but let's just say it was like the right side. He was only allowed to sprinkle it on the right side. Now, Christ's blood, according to this American archaeologist called Ron Wyatt, he says that that blood trickled down that crack that had been created by an earthquake. And you can go there and see there is indeed a crack there. And you can even see there's a hollowed out hole in the ground that had a stump of wood in with a ring that he actually pinched and took away to America to use as a doorstop, which is exactly what you'd expect if you're going to stick a cross in there. That's what I would do if I were tasked with creating a crucifixion area by my AC. So the site is logical for all those reasons. Bus location, thoroughfare, evidence of stoning. It looks like Golgotha. It's got a crack in it. It's got that hole in it where a cross would have been put into it, hypothetically. It's got a crack in the bottom of it. Now, if it's true that Jeremiah's cave is underneath that site, and if it's true that he found the Ark of the Covenant, this is what he claims. He claims he found the Ark of the Covenant in a room full of old bits of furniture covered in like carpets and skins, I think it was, like animal skins. I think it would have been like, I don't know if they still had those badger skins from, Exodus. But anyway, there were skins. And so he claims that he saw some brown, kind of blacky brown markings on the left side. Let's say it was the left side. I can't remember if it was the right. Let's say it's the left side of the mercy seat. So he thinks that Ark of the Covenant was hidden away there, but essentially to be situated directly underneath where Christ would be crucified, so that his blood finally would land on the correct side of the mercy seat. That's what he claims. Okay,
that's a wild one, man.
Yeah. No,
I should say something on that.
there's no proof. There's no proof.
Well, not just that. Yeah. I think theologically, Christ's death, even if the ark wasn't there, Christ's death is sufficient.
Certainly it is.
To cover our sin, and that's the blood sacrifice that God required. Whether it landed on
it wouldn't be necessary, but it's sometimes I think when
it's a cool picture.
Yes, that's pretty much all it is.
Yeah.
If people could, I mean, take Jonah. Why would he get like the greatest entrance in history, to go and preach to people who worship a fish god? Why would he be delivered inside a fish? The fish would open its mouth, he comes onto the beach, and he goes to preach to people who previously he estimated would have absolutely no inclination towards repentance. And now they all repent because he came out of a fish, and they worship a fish god. So some of the extremely kind of neat, extraordinary, cool things that God does have valuable symbolic meaning. But
then it's visible. I mean,
yeah. But I mean, the thing is, I've often thought about this. Like, why would just a small number of people? So we're talking about you're talking about like whether people would know that Christ is going to come back at a particular time. Okay. So again, this is a big parenthesis. So let's just go back a little bit, because there's far too much to discuss if we go off on that tangent. So anyway, can you remind me where we kind of departed from our main subject when we ended up talking about Jerusalem and crucifixion sites?
John, for me, all of this is main subject. What are you talking about?
Okay. So then, so you had Antichrist then locating himself in the temple to stop other people fighting over that area. It's useful symbolically, geographically, as the center of the physical world's land masses. Sorry to kind of America and South America, they don't really figure into that one. But then, at the end of all that time, we said Christ returns onto the Mount of Olives. It opens up. There are still some Jews there. They flee out to the east, and then Christ basically intervenes physically in the war that maybe the Chinese and it's probably going to be China and Iran and Russia are targeting at Israel. Okay, So that's basically the end of the age where Christ comes and intervenes. Now, what they believe here is that Christ will remain on earth and he will establish his kingdom from Jerusalem. So basically, in the same way that Antichrist established his kingdom from Jerusalem, he will destroy Antichrist. And now here's a funny thing, because I think they think that he will send Antichrist straight to the lake of fire, and he will send Satan to a bottomless pit for exactly 1,000 years. Do you see? Okay. And Christ will establish his kingdom on earth. It'll be an earthly kingdom. But here's the weird thing, because there will be humans who are still alive, who are still getting married and having children. But there'll also be like a super race of heroes who he delegates his authority to run the world on his behalf. Why? Because even the pre-tribulation rapturists believe, I think, that we will be changed in the twinkling of an eye and will be made like as he is. And so he obviously has beyond human form. He can walk through walls, yet he can still eat fish, you know. We don't have any evidence that he has blood, but he has flesh and bones. He said, you know, when Thomas was doubting him, I think he said, I don't know if it was Thomas, but anyway.
Oh, it's Thomas. Doubting.
Okay.
Doubting Thomas.
He made it clear that he's got flesh and bones. We know he can walk through walls because they were assembled on the first day of the week for fear of the Jews. They were locked in a room. And
why wouldn't he have blood though? Why? He was born of a woman.
Well, we don't have it in his resurrected body. We don't have any evidence that he has blood. So maybe he still has blood. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But what we do know is that he has flesh and that he has bones. Okay. And what we do know is that he can walk through walls.
And some say that he still has the scars.
Yes. Well, he must do.
Yeah.
And this is the interesting thing, because a big question Christians have is, some of them, does what happens to us in this life affect the body that we will receive in the resurrection? Now, the obvious answer is no, of course not, because you'll get a new body and it'll be perfect.
So I'll have a six-pack.
If a six-pack is perfect. I mean, some people might think a six-pack looks a bit emaciated, you know, it doesn't look kind of smooth.
Let's go with this thing.
Something between that and a six-pack. Really.
I'll need maybe a few kilos less.
Yeah. So
we're working on it.
So where were we? So let's imagine you make the argument, no, you are going to be transformed into the most perfect version of a person imaginable. And then you'll say, what about kind of injuries and things? Oh, no, that's going to be instantly healed. Okay, that's fine. But then how do we explain the fact that Christ retained evidence of his injuries? Because when Thomas examined him, obviously he said, yeah, thrust your finger into my side. So there must have still been evidence of that injury.
Yep.
And yet it was his resurrected body. So if we're going to be made like him, then that would tend to argue that there will be vestiges of our current physical identity that will be retained in the resurrection. Now, one argument is that only damage as a consequence of sin, whether our sin or our ancestors' sin, will be corrected. So like if we've got kind of sticking out ears or something because our ancestor kind of did something stupid with his ears or who knows what, then that's going to be correct. And we're not going to have sticking out ears or, you know, a squint or, you know, anything kind of weird about us, because those marks on Christ were not a consequence of sin, but the opposite. So it's understandable that they may be retained. So we'll be made perfected in the sense of all of the sin being eliminated, or the impact of sin being eliminated from our resurrection body, but we may still retain vestiges of our physical identity here on earth. So anyway, when we are resurrected and then we come down at the end of the 7 years and he establishes his kingdom, we are then told that we will be responsible for administering nations, aren't we? Like when you had that debate with the with the apostles. Oh, no, it's when Paul, what does Paul say? He says, why do you go to law with each other? Find the stupidest person to judge between you. Then he says, okay, I'm being sarcastic, but don't you know that you'll be judging nations?
Yep.
Can't you even judge each other over small things? Do you see what I mean? So if we will have resurrected bodies that are capable of walking through walls and flying and moving vast distances instantaneously, which clearly Christ was, then it's going to be quite a weird kind of situation, according to the system, because you're going to have ordinary mortal people being run by immortals. You see what I mean? But anyway, that's what they believe is going to happen, and they believe that's going to happen for exactly 1,000 years. So now
Give or take a few seconds.
Yeah, no, 1,000 years is 1,000 years. That's what they say. Now, that's not what I say. Okay, I say something different, and this is a part of the conversation where, like what you were saying earlier, fits in, I think. So let's just look at their argument. If they say it's 1,000 years, what they think is going to happen is that Christ is going to rule with a rod of iron. We are going to have his delegated authority. We're going to be perfect, and we are going to be maintaining order on his behalf. Now, if we all know that after exactly 1,000 years, everyone's going to rebel, Satan's going to be loosed from the bottomless pit. He's going to come back to earth. He's going to have a short time to deceive all the nations. He's going to convince them. He's going to say, look, I know you've just been governed so well, so fairly. You're healthy, you're educated, you know all the scriptures.
Things are running swimmingly.
Yeah, absolutely perfectly. You're treated well. You've got absolutely nothing to complain about. I suppose like in the Garden of Eden, you know. But nonetheless, I can do even better for you. You know, it's like that joke you see on the internet where they're very naughty. They make fun of females, you know. And there's a man who says that the problem with females is kind of encapsulated in the story of Adam and Eve. Because Adam then says to Eve, look at what God's given us. Isn't it beautiful? We've got everything we could possibly want. We don't have to work. We're comfortable. Everything's great. And then Eve says something like, well, I was just hoping for more, you know?
Oh, that's a joke.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So
probably why I'm still single.
And this is a joke, and all the men laugh. And then there's a lady in the podcast.
I saw that,
laughing.
and she didn't get it.
Yeah, she didn't get it. And no, she wanted more.
She wanted more. Yeah, I think she actually said something to that effect.
Yeah.
I was hoping for more.
Yeah,
and that that was brilliant. That was brilliant.
But anyway,
I mean, if you're a racist,
one of those
sexist bigot, it's disgusting.
Yeah. Terrible.
In any case, sorry.
Really
yes, sorry.
But so what they believe is that Satan's going to come back. He's going to have a few years to go around the world deceiving people, and God's going to allow that. And he's going to succeed in building up a rebellion. And even though we know this is going to happen, because it's prophesied, and we can set a watch for exactly 1,000 years, we're going to let it happen as well. Remember, we're immortal superhumans that can fly, and we're going to allow them to accumulate weapons and to strategize.
What is your superhero name going to be, John?
I have no idea.
I'll just settle for Super Jans.
I'll just take what I'm given.
Super Jans is fine. Okay, sorry.
Super Chad. Like Super Giga Chad.
No, Super Jans.
Oh, Jans. Okay, all right.
Okay.
So this is what I find incredibly hard to accommodate. This hypothesis that they interpret that Christ will reign with a rod of iron from Jerusalem physically. He will delegate authority to us. He will be tasked with one thing, and that is prosecuting his will, and keeping order in a kind way, you know, and educating people according to his. So like if you're in charge of education policy in your country, you're going to teach people the scriptures. What is more useful or interesting than knowing that? So everyone's going to know the prophecies, and everyone's going to know that after exactly 1,000 years, a certain number of people decide to rebel against Christ. And here's the crazy thing, that listen to Satan and then do another Armageddon all over again at the end of the 1,000 years, when they knew what happened on the last Armageddon, because Christ came down and, you know, destroyed everything.
Yeah. So I just want to say on the Armageddon thing, don't buy tickets. The movies make it look like Armageddon is this fierce battle between good and evil, God versus the devil. Oh, the devil is so strong. The Bible makes it clear it's a very one-sided fight, and it's super boring. So if anybody sells you tickets to that, you're an idiot for buying. I'm just saying, it's a one-sided affair. It's come in, sweep up, and just yawn, boring.
But it becomes very far-fetched to me because, and
I agree with you.
Yeah.
The second Armageddon thing doesn't add up, man.
It doesn't. And the thing is, the names are even the same. Gog and Magog.
Yeah.
So now we have a kind of Gog and Magog besieging Jerusalem in whatever, 10, 20, 30, 50 years. And then after 1,000 years, another Gog, Magog besieging Jerusalem. Just doesn't make sense at all. But if you take it in that literal way, only 1 millennium lasting 1,000 years, you're forced to. There's no alternative. And only then Christ finally judges everyone and throws them into the lake of fire.
Okay? No, Christ, my whole thing is Jesus doesn't come back twice.
No, and they would have him, exactly, coming back twice.
Jesus kind of returns once and sets up, in my opinion, from what I understand, is he comes back and this is it.
Yeah.
This is it, man. You've had your chance.
Yes.
It's over now.
Yeah.
Over skidova, as you say in Afrikaans.
So I would agree. But now, okay, so that's what we don't really believe. There'll be aspects of that which I concede may happen. But generally, that's the picture I don't agree with. And that's what I think a lot of modern churches actually teach.
So just let's just rest on that point a little bit. Does that mean we need to start our own church now?
No.
Should we break away from our church, break fellowship, tell the current pastor that he's an absolute raving lunatic for believing that, and start the Britain Boer non-Baptistic, non-thousand-year reigning church of I think the Brit and the Boer?
We're discussing this because, we're just doing a kind of little podcast thing.
Yeah.
But I think sensible
Which, if you haven't subscribed yet, you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. Sensible Christians, I think, don't really invest a lot of effort or insistence in how they interpret prophecy. I think there's more this understanding that you will understand it when it's happening. You don't really need to understand it beforehand.
I'll be honest with you, I'm on that kind of train.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to just go through a day. Most of my days, I don't wake up a Christian. I claw my way to Christ. I have to battle sentimentality. The older I get, that's so annoying. And so for me, I'm quite happy to just make it through a day, fall on my knees at the end of the day and say, Lord Jesus Christ, I thank you. My Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you for having carried me through this day. This is a horrific day. I had to make choices and decisions and things that for me, it's difficult. For average person, it's probably easy. For me, everything's difficult. But I'm thankful. And so I'm quite happy to not know everything. I like that term. I heard a guy once say, I'm a pan-millennialist. And when they ask me what it means, it's everything pans out in the end. I am on that, that train.
No, I like
that omnibus.
I like the fact that the question is a preposterous question. Preposterous question. But now, because those books do exist in the Bible, it's disrespectful not to give them consideration, of course.
Yeah.
And so, there are big sections in Daniel, Ezekiel, Isaiah, Revelation, and we're commanded to read them, and we're told we'll be blessed if we do. So we have to try and make some kind of sense of them. But I think, when things are so crystal clear, like, for example, if you look at the Genesis account of creation, That's like laboriously, painstakingly systematic in its clarity.
Yeah.
It's,
I mean, there's a form,
yes.
a necessary sequence of events, necessary sequence of events for things to come to existence.
Yeah. So I think any kind of logically coherent Bible-believing Christian would be able to argue with relatively little effort that the account of creation is very straightforward and comprehensible. Of course, we can't comprehend the nature of God's power in creating it, but in terms of what he did, the order in which he did it, that's crystal clear. And since, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but since he is capable of being clear, the fact that he's not clear when it comes to prophecy is obviously not because of any difficulty in being clear, but obviously because he doesn't want us to understand clearly. I mean, even us, if we knew what was going to happen for the rest of our lives wouldn't be worth living.
No.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's a classic case of he saves you. Why doesn't he just take you up?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to. Because he wants you to live for his glory.
Yes.
And that's his prerogative.
That's right.
In Afrikaans you say, I can maak soos hy smaak.
Yeah.
He can do what he wants.
Now, of course, in Scripture, we've got examples of how people's lives don't go well. Because he's kind, So
those things were written for us.
Yes. So now, if at the end of history things are going to go very badly wrong, and there is no prophecy that will contextualize those things within the overall course of God's intended purposes, then we could lose hope and think that we are delusional and forget what is the basis of the conviction of our faith. So when those things are happening, when you're being burnt alive, or, your head's in the guillotine or something like that, you can be kind of calmly, confidently convinced that everything's okay. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if those prophecies weren't there, you'd think, what's gone wrong? I thought I was faithful.
This is why I'm careful about the prophecies, John. I had a very, it's a sad discussion I had with a guy who believed firmly that God still speaks through prophets today. Now, I don't believe that.
Neither do I.
If that shocks you, I'm terribly sorry. But I don't believe that God speaks through prophets today. He has spoken in previous times, as the book of Hebrews says. Spoken through prophets, but then he spoke through his son. That's sufficient. Now we've got the Bible, right? That's sufficient. The problem I have with if you cling to a specific interpretation of any prophecy, whether you think modern is accurate or not, or whether you think a biblical prophecy is accurate according to your interpretation, is that you are probably going to experience some sort of disappointment. And you might even doubt God. Right? So when I say I want to be careful how I read Revelation, which I have read, I think, a number of times already. I've been through the Bible a few times. It's not because I distrust God and his word, it's because I distrust my own interpretation of said word, right? I find it very frustrating when people say, for instance, the book of Revelation should be taken very literally as possible, when the whole book seems to be like almost like a vision. It's like I don't want to use the word chaotic. But it's something it's very, very difficult for a man to understand. A man like John to take in all of this, right? And some of my favorite teachers, preacher teachers, whatever you want to call them, pastors, they have conceded that, say for instance, the wheel, is it Jeremiah?
Is it Isaiah?
No, I think it's Jeremiah, where he sees the
eyes on it.
The strangest thing. Very bizarre.
It's hard to even think that is beautiful.
And also to take it literal. they're willing to concede that, listen, that's possibly not literal. Okay, well, why are you so literal about Revelation then? Why do you not apply the same theological logic to Revelation? And if you're willing to do that with so much of the rest of the Bible, if there's one book, in my opinion, where you should be really careful with your interpretation, it would be Revelation. All of the other books, in my opinion, you can be more literal than with Revelation.
Yeah.
So,
but you can't get away from the fact that it is there.
Yeah.
We're commanded to read it.
Yeah, and it's a blessing.
Yeah, and we're expected to try to understand it.
Yeah.
Because there's no point reading anything that you don't try to understand.
For sure.
So,
but you can say that about the rest of the Bible as well. There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Peter even said Paul wrote stuff that's difficult to understand, right? So you can say that about the Old Testament as well.
Yeah.
You can go so far as to say, why on earth were the genealogies added to the Bible? I mean, those are boring as anything to read.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, I'm quite grateful they were.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. There's a reason they're there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. But now, so we've looked at what I think maybe both of us don't really believe, but I concede I might very well be wrong.
Oh, for sure. I'm quite happy to be proven wrong about any of this, because it's not going to do anything about my salvation.
Yeah.
I'm secure in Christ, and I'm quite happy about that. That's all I need. Yeah.
But now, if we can maybe contrast that with the other view. Now, when I say the other view, it's not like there are just two views. There are literally thousands of permutations.
Yeah. That's like the Marvel multiverse.
Ah, yes.
It just doesn't end.
Yeah, no. But now, I don't even know what Dave Wilson believes, but you've mentioned that
Doug Wilson.
Sorry, you see? It's I'm just proving that.
Dave is his much younger brother.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. So,
or his son.
So, but it seems like he doesn't believe in a literal 1,000 years.
No. I think he would say that we are in those 1,000 years now.
Okay, all right, good.
It's not a literal 1,000 years. We are in those because, and he's, in a sense, he's right, because history is showing our part of it to be the most prosperous.
Okay.
And the most,
the
most prosperous. We're doing well. Humanity is doing well. Okay,
but let's look at the objections. So the people who believe what we've just said would say, well, if you start playing around with the scriptures and bending them to mean whatever you want them to mean, that's dangerous behavior, and you have to have some quite strict rules about where you draw the line in terms of whether you can mess around with meanings in scripture and whether you've got to take them literally. And so I would say, if it's clear history, if it's already happened in the past, and there's a clear kind of systematic description of what's happened, that's obvious. If it's doctrine, that's obvious. Genealogies, that's obvious. I think the only place where you'd want to be able to play around a bit would be prophecy, wouldn't it? Maybe poetry, like Song of Solomon.
Some of the Psalms?
Maybe, well, some of them are prophetic as well, aren't they? Yeah. Like David's talking about him, and then he just jumps a couple of 1,000 years.
Yeah.
So, so anything that touches on prophecy, I would say necessarily gives us permission to not be dogmatic in terms of literality. Yeah,
you need to be super careful.
Yeah. But at the same time, let's imagine that I knew what was going to happen in your future. And I didn't want to tell it to you in black and white, because that would be highly demoralizing. If I had absolute certainty about what was going to be in your future.
So I'm going to get into my Jimny.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to crash.
Yeah.
At the intersection.
Yes.
Just where we turn off.
You're going to kill a child. You're going to struggle and so on and so forth. You're going to struggle to live with that. You're going to become an alcoholic. You're going to meet a beautiful lady, not marry her because you're an alcoholic. She'll leave you. She'll go and marry another guy. You'll be looking at them for the next 20 years thinking, I wish I'd been in that position. If only
it's going to get me to wash his windows.
Breaking the speed limit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, if I knew all of that was going to happen and I cared about you, I definitely would not tell you all of that. Okay. If it was an inevitability, if it was avoidable, I'd say, look, if you don't do A, B, C, this is what's going to happen. But if it's not avoidable and it's inevitable, I wouldn't want you to know exactly what's going to happen because you'd lose hope. You might as well just find a justification to do something really dangerous very quickly and, let nature take care of things. So what I would do is want to encourage you that when these things happened, you had some letter from me that you went through that was written in kind of really opaque language. It didn't make any sense. He said, John, why can't you just spell it out for me in plain English what's going to happen?
You can't handle the truth.
Exactly. That's why we walk by faith, not by sight, because if we could see where we were going, we wouldn't take a step.
It's like what I always tell people, if you had to see all the sharks while you're surfing, nobody would be surfing. Nobody would be swimming. If you knew the number of sharks underneath you while you're surfing or swimming or out at sea, you'd be like, I am not getting into that water.
It's an excellent analogy. I'm
not getting it. It's dangerous. There are thousands of sharks below me. So no. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it is. But what I would do, if I knew exactly what was going to happen, is I'd try and write in ways that all these significant things that are going to happen in your life, when they happen, and you go back and you read this letter, which you read on a regular basis, it then makes sense. You think, I see. It's clear now that that's what he meant in his vague, veiled, opaque way. But if this is intended as part of an overall greater purpose that ultimately ends in something really good, then I'm not going to get too cut up about it because I know it's inevitable and it's intended and it factors me in. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the way prophecy is written as it relates to the end of times, when things clearly do get pretty wild and painful, you know?
So, okay, where does that leave you? What do you mean?
So, firstly, I'm a literalist as far as it makes logical sense to be. Just looking at prophecy now, I don't believe that we could be raptured at any time because I don't really see scriptural support for a secret rapture. I don't think Christ is going to come back quietly and grab us. And I don't see the logic of it, really. I see Christ praying for us that we would be kept while we're in the world, not that we'd be taken out of the world. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look at history, right? Martyrs. People have been killed for...
And even now, you know...
people are losing their heads. Christians are losing their heads for their faith. Well, I don't understand how that pre-trib thing comes in. It never made sense to me.
No.
It's just,
and you think of the most kind of conspicuous believers in history, and they've often had the most difficult, dangerous, painful lives.
John Wycliffe? Wycliffe?
I think of Wycliffe.
John Wycliffe.
Yeah, well, I mean, his wasn't so bad. I mean, they burnt him after he was dead, didn't they? They dug up his bones.
Who's the guy they
Cranmer, Ridley, Latimer, burnt at the stake.
I thought Wycliffe they killed that as well.
No, I don't think so. I think he escaped.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I must be thinking of someone else. Cranmer was the guy who recanted and then...
That's it.
He went back.
Yeah.
And then he put his hand into the fire and said, you burn first. You little so-and-so.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't say it quite like that.
Pretty much like that.
Probably.
Yeah. So, so all these people, these were God's apparently favorite people in terms of what he allowed them to accomplish on behalf of the rest of us.
Yeah.
And yet look how he treated them.
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah.
So if his favorite people are going to go through that.
Yeah, why would we be... I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
In any case. Yeah.
No.
All right.
So I think that he will protect us, but some of us will die. Some of us will be on the run. Some of us will be persecuted, even to death. I think it's going to be a little bit different in this kind of modern age to how it happened in the past, unless Islam surges, in which case it could be quite rough. They like cutting off people's heads. I know. I don't mean all nice Muslims, like my nice Muslim friends. I mean, but when you get a government that insists on its version of law and order and the necessary draconian measures required to ensure compliance, those get pretty rough, like lopping off limbs and heads and things. So could go that way.
We need to talk about the lopping off limbs in another podcast.
At some point.
Another episode.
We should do so, yeah. But
I don't necessarily have a problem with that.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So, but where were we? So now...
So you think Jesus is not coming back quietly?
No.
The thief in the night analogy does not mean he's coming back quietly. It means he's coming when you don't know, when you don't expect him.
Yes, but remember, what does it say after that? Doesn't it say something like, you should come in a thief in the night? Let's just quickly find it, because I don't want to kind of make up scriptures. Could you please find for me the scripture that talks about Christ coming back when we're not expecting him? Okay, so I'm old-fashioned, and I believe the creeds. The Apostles' Creed, the Athanasian Creed, the Nicene Creed. What do they say?
Apollo Creed has nothing to do with this, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
That doesn't. So, okay, so, no. No, there's one about coming as a thief in the night. And then something about, but you are not in darkness, walk as children of light.
Sounds like something out of John, the book of John. I don't mean the mouth of John, the book of John, in the Bible.
Okay. What was I just looking at?
Was it Synoptic Gospel?
No, I was looking up something here. Okay, so I think it's this one, 1 Thessalonians.
Okay.
1 Thessalonians 5. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. See where I'm going? Ye are the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. So what's
not so much a surprise for us.
That seems to be what it's indicating. For them, they're going to be overtaken by it.
It's like,
what?
Yeah,
and they're not going to escape.
But the internet atheist said it was all a lie.
Yeah, but do you see, this is a very interesting thing. Then sudden destruction cometh upon them. So it differentiates them from us. In other words, if the day of the Lord comes as a surprise, it's a surprise to them and it's not a surprise to us. And they have sudden destruction, but we don't. They shall not escape. Contrasted with the fact that we will escape. Because when he comes, that's when we escape. You see what I mean? So that's what I believe. And I think that's just what traditionalists believe. Oh yeah, I was just going to find the creeds, because you will see, I mean, everyone knows the wording of the creeds. It's, he shall come again in glory to judge the quick and the dead, and his kingdom shall have no end. That's what I believe. You see what I mean?
The dead.
Yeah, the quick. Yeah. So,
but will he judge the good, the bad, and ugly?
In a way, he will, yes, because of, what's that phenomenon?
Well, whether you're good, bad, or ugly, you're either quick or dead.
Yes, yeah. So the Nicene Creed, when it talks about him coming back, So for context, on the third day he rose again according to the scriptures and ascended into heaven and sitteth on the right hand of the Father, and he shall come again with glory to judge both the quick and the dead, whose kingdom shall have no end. Okay, so I think that obviously we're not arguing from scripture here, but these people formulated this by arguing from scripture, and it's generally considered to be pretty jolly sound. And I haven't actually seen any kind of orthodox arguments against the validity of either of these three creeds. So if we can kind of take a shortcut to do what these people have already done the hard work of doing and assume that these creeds are theologically reliable, I don't really see how a secret rapture and then a temporary kingdom lasting only 1,000 years fits with this. And it seems like that judgment's not going to be delayed 1,000 years. And you're not going to have this issue with superhuman immortals ruling over what are going to be quite boring, really, for those superhuman immortals. So, just ordinary people reproducing for the next 1,000 years.
I'm a little bit triggered.
Yeah.
Because I really had my mind set on being super giants. And so what you're actually saying is it's just not going to happen.
I can't say I understand all the implications of the alternatives.
Okay, I'm no longer triggered.
No.
You've appeased my wrath.
That's going to happen there that has to comply with those prophecies. But to me, it's definitely not this, because this just doesn't make any logical sense. So that is the Nicene Creed. Then you've got the Apostles' Creed, which is a little bit shorter and simpler to the point. But again, and sitteth on the right hand of God the Father Almighty, from thence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead. So where is he now, according to the creed? He's sitting on the right hand of God, the Father Almighty. What's he going to do next? He's from there, he's going to come to judge the quick and the dead. You see what I mean?
Yeah, it's very simple.
Yeah. And then finally,
simple timeline.
The qui cumque vult.
What?
Yeah,
I don't understand Xhosa. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Or was that Swahili? I do know a nice Shona term, Rara Jakanaka. It sounds pretty cool. But in any case.
My mother used to know Ndabuka. Yeah, but I can't do that. Is the correct way. So look, and in the Athanasian Creed, which is the qui cumque vult, he ascended into heaven. He sitteth on the right hand of the Father, God Almighty, from whence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead, at whose coming all men shall rise again with their bodies and shall give account for their own works. Where's the 1,000 years? Do you see what I'm saying? And they that have done good, obviously repented and received Christ's merits in a propitiatory way, go into life everlasting, and they that have done evil into everlasting fire.
Yeah.
So for me, we don't have 1,000 years more. So quite literally, what could happen is Antichrist could be revealed tomorrow or even this evening. 7 years later, Christ could return. 7 years and 1 minute later, there could be the final judgment. You see that
makes far more sense, in my opinion.
It does.
I'm sorry, I've never liked the 1,000-year thing because it just doesn't fit in anywhere. It sounds like heaven.
Yeah.
It sounds like heaven, right? But now it's like this hybrid, bastardized version of heaven where you still have sinners walking around as well.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
No.
So it's when Jesus, and he's not going to come back twice. He returns once, and it's a spectacular. He's already been here once. It's a spectacular event.
Yeah. And what on earth could we achieve by looking after pagans for 1,000 years? Do you know?
Who are going to rebel?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, just so utterly stupid.
Yeah.
It's like taking like a rocket scientist and asking him to be a single carer in a kindergarten.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, that's a real turn-off, and it just doesn't make theological sense. But this does make sense, and this is what these gentlemen formulated hundreds of years ago, and has never been successfully argued against.
Right. Briefly, because I think we need to wrap it up somewhat, Dan.
Yeah.
What do we do with my friends who make claims that, the signs are obviously there.
Okay.
So Jesus is coming tomorrow. Or
And you can't just throw away the 1,000 years as well. We've got to deal with that very, very briefly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So now, so what is the word for 10,000 in Greek?
I'm guessing there's a deci in somewhere.
It's like myriad, isn't it?
Oh.
Is that 10,000 or 100,000? I don't know.
Myriad.
Myriad. Just
myriad, a little lamb.
Exactly. Yes. It's so funny you said that, and I'll explain the significance in a moment. Okay. Okay. So, myriad in Greek, is that 10,000 or 100,000? It wasn't recording. Myriad in Greek, is that 10,000 or 100,000? Okay, it is 10,000, yes. So, as I said, it's from
myriad.
Myrias, meaning 10,000. Okay, now, have you ever used the word myriad in your life? Have you used it myriad times?
Yeah.
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 Have you used it 10,000 times? Ooh. So am I a liar?
No.
No, okay, exactly. Have you ever intended?
It's like decimate that we spoke about earlier.
Exactly, yeah.
We speak of decimate, but that's it's actually a tepid word.
There's a tremendous difference between the prescriptive use of a word and the descriptive word of a use. As your man on the Clapham omnibus would understand that
yes,
word when he
or the
heard
sun rises. We don't say the earth rotates in the morning.
Exactly.
We're quite happy to say the sun rises in the morning, right?
It's an economical shortcut that makes sense to everyone, and nobody thinks anyone's deceiving anyone or lying.
And we're not flat earthers. I'm just saying. I'm not a. You might. Are you a flat earther?
No.
I'm not.
Well, it depends how you define flat. If something's big enough, the surface all over it is essentially flat.
Yes.
But anyway, depending on your inertial frame of reference, obviously. What was I saying? So about this myriad thing, you yourself have used the word myriad times throughout your life, and you've never once intended
1,000,000 times
to communicate to the hearer that the thing happened 10,000 times.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I think the use of the
I'm
word...
also not going to start explaining every time I use the word myriad. Figuratively.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Now, I think that Scripture uses the word thousand in the same way, in whichever language, Greek, I suppose. And in order to prove it to you, I only need to find one instance in Scripture where that's done.
Mm-hmm.
And let's even, forget about the Greek, whether it's in Hebrew or Greek, how many fields does God own? The cattle.
The cattle on 1,000 hills.
Are you sure it's only 1,000?
Well, you see, the thing is that's exactly proving the point.
Yeah, it's myriad a little lamb, you see?
Myriad a little lamb on 1,000 hills.
That's right, and they all belong to God. And even all the other 100 million hills in the world, if there are any sheep on those as well, they also belong to God as well.
So I think it's like saying, as far as the eye can see.
Yes.
Well, how far can the eye see? Well, walk on, and the eye can see farther still.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So for now, you can only see 1,000 hills, but walk on a little bit, you'll see 1,000 more. Walk on more, and eventually you'll circle the earth, and you'll have seen all thousands, millions of hills, whatever.
That's it. Now, so I take it as an order of magnitude, okay? And there's no number attached to the 1,000. When, for example, you have the 144,000, there's an order of magnitude there, and then there's a unity of two very well-used numbers in Scripture, 12 and 12. Mm-hmm. And those are pretty obvious to most commentators what they signify, bearing in mind there were 12 sons of Jacob, and there were 12 apostles. So it would tend to indicate all believers from prior to Christ and after Christ, and many of them. You see, it's a unity of the universal church throughout history. The fastest way to say that, in very easy to understand symbolic terms, is 144,000. You see what I mean? So there's a combination of symbolism and order of magnitude. But when you only have one, like 1,000, it's just like saying myriad. It's like a very large number, but I'm not going to tell you how big that number is because it doesn't really matter. That's essentially what we're saying when we use myriad. Okay. But when we say 1,240 and we express it in 3 different ways, like we also say time, times, and half a time, then you've got to start paying very close attention to that number, because that's not just a kind of a throwaway expression, like we would say millions. Do you know what I mean? So that 1,000, I think quite clearly, is not intended. If you look kind of throughout all Scripture, how that word is used, both in the Old and New Testament, I don't think there's any kind of clear mandate for interpreting that number literally if it doesn't have an exact kind of unit in front of it.
Yeah, I mean, we even speak like it in our modern day. So.
We do, yeah.
I'm gonna love that forever.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, are you? Well, you know what I mean.
And so I think it's not like we're doing kind of, we're really kind of.
It's not deceptive.
It's the most normal way to talk.
Yeah, it's not. You're not trying to deceive anyone.
No.
It's kind of like
So now the difficulty they have is they say, how is Satan bound? Because bad stuff's happening all the time. So how do you answer that question? If the 1,000 years are nearly up, where Satan is bound and he'll be released for a little time to deceive the nations, and then there'll be Armageddon, which I think is going to happen fairly soon. How now is he bound? In what sense?
No, I don't know.
Okay, so I would say look at the metaphor Christ uses for demonic activity related to physical edifices. So it says, if you want to ransack a man's goods, you need to bind the strong man. And he relates that also to demonology. You see what I mean? So firstly, look at a house. You want to go into that house and get all the stuff. In this country, what do people do? They bind you, firstly. They stick you on a chair, wrap duct tape around you, threaten you, make you keep still, and then torture you until you tell them how to get into the safe. That's what they do.
And then they kill you.
Yeah, standard operating procedure. So everyone knows if you want to ransack a person's property, you need to bind the person first. So now, when Christ went to Golgotha, he defeated Satan. That gave him legal permission to ransack Satan's kingdom. So he bound Satan in those terms that now he was going to storm Satan's kingdom. Because your father is the devil, you see what I mean? And he has legal right to you. So for Christ to rescue you from Satan's kingdom, he had to first bind Satan and then come and rescue you. You see what I mean? Like a hostage rescue, where firstly you shoot the terrorists, or better still, you arrest them and bind them and then go and rescue the hostages and lead them out into the garden, let them cough out all the CS gas and give them water. So in that sense, I believe that Satan is bound. Do you see what I mean? Okay, yeah. I mean, do you have a counter argument?
No, I don't. No, it's something in a different. It's my head's going on a tangent.
Okay.
The ransom doctrine. I think we were bought free from the wrath of God, not the wrath of Satan. Satan is not the one we are afraid of. We are afraid of the wrath of the Father.
But what does Paul say to do when a person is beyond hope?
Giving up to Satan.
Yes.
So that the flesh may be destroyed, but the soul may be saved.
Yeah, and who does Satan work for?
Oh, he works for God. He belongs to God.
Yeah, so basically, it's a bit like this. So if you say, I don't want anything to do with God, so if someone comes and tells you the gospel, and you say, oh, that's very interesting, that's nice for you, I'm sure that works nicely for you, but I'm not remotely interested. And you say, but are you aware? And you go through the whole logic of how it's impossible for the universe to create itself on the basis of causality and all that kind of thing. And they kind of gloss over and they're not remotely interested. And in the end, they say, look, even if there is a God, I wouldn't be interested because blah, 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 blah. And then you say, okay, look, really, I feel very sorry for you because I care about you, don't want you to go to the lake of fire for eternity. Really, you have an opportunity to be with God for eternity. And they say, listen, I'm just not interested. Go and sell your stuff to someone more gullible than me. Okay, and they just walk off. They've now had an opportunity to spend eternity with God. And they've decided, no, I don't want to spend eternity with God. So God then needs to delegate control of those people to somebody who's going to be in the same circumstances as anyone else who deliberately wants not to spend eternity with God. So they're saying, please find a place for us where God doesn't exist, where he chooses not to put his presence, because that's where we want to be. You see what I mean? And so he then, my understanding is that he then uses Satan to ensconce them in his kingdom and give them a nice life and all that kind of thing, and God's mercy to them. You know, if they're going to the lake of fire forever, you might as well make your life reasonably nice here and have your little
best life now.
Yeah, exactly. So, so in that sense, it's like Satan says, but this one is mine, because they've not kept the law, and even when you've given them an opportunity to be won back, they've rejected it. And it's like God honors that agreement and says, yeah, no, you're right, that one is yours. You keep that one for eternity, you see. But then when we had that situation where Christ came to pay for all of our sins, he then had legal right to go back to Satan and say, no, this one is not yours, because I've paid for him. He's bought with a price. So I'm going to take him back. And Satan would say, no, he's mine. And Christ would say, I'm going to bind you. I'm going to storm your kingdom. I'm going to take the ones I've chosen. You're going to be with me. Then I'm going to release you when I've finished binding them. And then you can work your havoc for a few years and do your best. You see what I mean? Very shortly before the judgment.
Okay. That brings us to the end.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, thanks, John. That was an enlightening chat. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Likewise.
What was the other doctrine we said we were going to chat about in future?
Did we talk about it now or at another time?
Because I want to leave these people on a cliffhanger. That's what they do in this podcast.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you won't believe point number 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and do this one trick will get rid of that parasite that's chewing your heart away.
Oh, ivermectin, is it?
But you're not supposed to say it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because now they're not going to subscribe. Nobody's going to subscribe now, because you've already given the whole answer for everything.
Okay.
Ivermectin. This is what you have to do with when you have a podcast with somebody with an IQ of 352.2 and minus 30.
But no, I've also got a mectin. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't subbed yet,
we don't really care.
you don't have to. Yeah. We're having fun. We'd like to get people on the show, though. We probably need more than 10 subscribers to show the value. Thanks again for watching, and tune in again if you want. Cheers.